let me go back to something you just said. I don't know that I agree. I think McGregor will go back to 145. You know, he's going to get cleaned up by Nate a second time. After he got dusted by him the first time, the very first thing he said is, well, I'm going back to 145. Now, he thought about it a little time, and he goes, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay at 170, and I'm going to right this wrong. But after he gets cleaned up again, I got to imagine it's the same mindset. And he goes, well, look, I'm the world champ down here. Let me just go back, particularly if Frankie wins. It's a different match. If Aldo wins, it would still draw. The problem is Aldo won't show up. I think he does go to 45.
Possibly. You know, I mean, I think if you were to ask him and John Kavanaugh, they'd say absolutely not. You know, I mean, they wouldn't say it publicly because then you would just strip him of the belt. But, you know, I guess that maybe he needs his ass kicked again by Nate to figure out that, you know, I think I've said this before. You know, Conor is the best at 145 pounds. He dusts people. That his power at that weight is like nothing we've really seen before. At least at that weight, that one punch knockout ability. We don't know what he's like at 155, but I think he's about a top 5 or 6 guy at 155 pounds, and I think he's maybe a top 12 to 15 guy at welterweight, which is like, all right, why are you fighting at the weight where you're the absolute worst you can be?
Sure. You know, if you look at that fight and you just take both guys at their word, it favors Nate. So let's start with their word. Here's what Conor said. Conor said, I came out, I beat him up, and I wasn't efficient with my energy. Now, not efficient with my energy is a nice way of saying I got tired and I quit. But he is right. That's what happened. He did outfight him. He did outspeed him. He did outjuke him and jive him, and he looked great. But it was a power and a size issue. He wasn't able to get him out of there, and now he's got nothing left in the tank, the typical rope-a-dope. So let's take Conor at his word, and he's going to be more efficient with his energy. Well, that's not great. There's no way that in 3 months or 5 months, however long it is, no matter how hard you train, you cannot turn 7 minutes of energy into 25 minutes of energy unless you do less output. Well, Conor is a high output guy. He's a Vitor Belfort. He comes out, he storms you quick and gets you out of there. So if he comes out and tries to extend that 7 minutes of energy over 25 minutes, it's not going to work out. Secondly, is Nate came out and said, look, Conor hit me with a left hand repeatedly. You know, he cut my eye. I didn't see it coming. He nailed me. He said, but what everybody's forgetting is that was my first time having punches thrown at me in months. I had no training camp. I took the fight on 9 days' notice. I went right on a media tour. I never sparred, and had I sparred, I'd never get hit with that left hand. He said he was slipping that in because my timing was off. So you look at Nate's comments, you look at Conor's comments, it's like, okay, Conor, you this is a bad idea. Extending 7 minutes of output over 25, that's not good. Not when you're a barnstormer that comes out hard. And you look at Nate's comments, you go, that makes sense too. Everybody's talked about Conor's weight, myself included, but we haven't really given any credence to the fact that Nate just stepped in there right off the couch.
Yeah, not only right off the couch, I think, he was partying, living it up, So he wasn't exactly in the best shape that I'm sure he will be on August 20th. So I think this is Conor's ego getting to him, and if he had any sensibility, he would have said, all right, let's do the rematch, but let's do it at 155 pounds. Where maybe the physical advantage for Nate won't be as much. I don't know. That's all in theory, but it kind of seems to me that put him at any weight and Nate Diaz is going to win. I think Conor is just he's a 145 pounder, and it's the same thing in boxing. Sometimes when guys move up, that their power doesn't move up with them. That not everybody's Manny Pacquiao. Yeah,
no, some guys do have a weight class, and they just simply cannot change. George talked about that his whole career. We were talking about St. Pierre a minute ago. He wouldn't fight Anderson because they couldn't find a weight. He didn't want to go up to 80. Everything had to be right. I know some wrestlers that are that way. Best guys in the country, but boy, it had to be at that specific weight. If you moved them out of that weight class, they weren't coming in the top 10.
Absolutely. And remember, George talked as much about going down to 155. He talked more about that than ever going up to 85.
Brian, I want to ask you about something else that happened over the weekend. I was out at World Series of Fighting. I was getting updates from Chris Camozzi by text message. Fedor and Fabio Maldonado fought. According to Camozzi, Maldonado got robbed. He should have stopped Fedor in the very first round. The referee refused to stop the fight. It was a 10-8 round. Ultimately, it went to a decision for Fedor. That's according to Chris Camozzi. Now, some of the judges, I believe, just had a 10-9 round. I don't actually know their scorecards, but they gave the last 2 rounds to Fedor and then gave the decision to Fedor. And Camozzi said, listen, absolutely not. In a best-case scenario, Fedor gets a draw, but it should have been stopped in the first round. I went after the World Series ended, and I got to watch it myself. And he's right. Exactly what Camozzi said. The first round was one of the worst beatings I've ever seen in MMA. Did you see the fight?
I did, and everything that Chris said and what you just said is right on. I mean, Fedor came out. He looked really good. Looked to have some, his hand speed always looks really good. It looks impressive, but just didn't seem to be hitting the mark. And Maldonado, to his credit, is a really durable guy. I think 30 MMA fights and then 15 or so boxing fights, maybe 2 stoppages via strikes. So he's not a very talented guy, but he's a tough guy. But Fedor was knocked out. He went limp for probably a second and a half, and then ensuing strikes woke him up. So that's what helped Fedor eventually get to his feet, and he got beat up even more on his feet. So it was like it should have been stopped. It was clearly 10-8. You can make a case that it was 10-7. That 10-8 didn't even give it credit enough. I mean, that's how bad of a beating it was. And just to give you the judges' scorecards, one judge had it 28-28. It was a female judge, got it correct. And then the 2 other judges scored round 1 10-9 Maldonado, which is really absurd. And then you go into round 2 and round 3, and Maldonado seemingly, I don't know if he was tired, seemingly just stopped fighting. And the new internet celebrity, the Russian play-by-play guy, Roman something, whatever his name is, he's funny as hell. He starts screaming, "What the hell is going on here?" And I didn't have an answer. I don't know if you watched the second round and the third round. I was like, he was trying to be nice, like somebody had tapped him on the shoulder in the corner and said, "Hey man, pull back a little bit." And the other thing too, between that first and second round, there's some video there that it looks like they put a little substance under Fedor's nose to like kind of wake him up a little bit.
Wow, I didn't know that. I used to train with Maldonado. I don't know if I told you that. He was out here in Oregon. Fabiano Schurner brought him out, and he trained with us at Team Quest. And yeah, it's a lot like what you just said. He wasn't the most skilled and experienced guy, but he's tougher than all hell, as you can see just from watching him on television. I'd have loved to have seen him win that fight, but he filed a protest. It's already been denied. That female judge you're talking about came out and spoke in the media. Now, she was pretty cool because she was so honest. She said, "I'm very good friends with Fedor." She said, "And it makes it very hard to watch him fight, let alone to judge him, but I've got a job to do." That first round was 10-8. There's no way around. She told the truth. I didn't like that one of his friends was judging in the first place, but it is Russia. And for Maldonado, my only takeaway was Maldonado, did you not know this was going to happen? Because that made me feel bad for him. I thought, you thought you were going to get a fair shake. Now, anybody that goes to Russia, particularly to fight Fedor, but anybody that goes and competes in sports in Russia knows they're about to get screwed over. That's the way it works. So I figured he just knew that ahead of time. He was getting brought in as a patsy, and there must be a good paycheck that made it worth his while. But it sounds like after the fact, particularly the fact that he filed a protest, that he really thought he had a legitimate shot at a straight call. It's like, Fabiano, come on. Of course you did it, man. Yeah. Of course nobody would have.
Yeah, he should have went to those guys who are obviously crooks. He should have said, "Hey, I won't say anything. I won't throw Fedor under the bus. I'll say I'm fine with the decision. I should have done better to finish the fight. I'll play along, but I need a little bit of a bonus, and I need a 4-fight contract that'll guarantee me 50, 60,000 a fight. I'll do you a solid if you guys help me.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was a good business move to file a protest. I mean, the people that you file the protest with, isn't that the MMA union that Fedor was the president of or still is?
He founded it. He might be the president, but he did found it. Now, his heart was in the right spot. They needed that over there. It was all for good things. But yes, at the end of the day, the politics are the politics. He founded the commission that has overseen his fight. I don't know how Maldonado, I was stunned when Maldonado filed it because I thought, oh, you didn't know. See, I thought you were in on the gag, man. Yes, you're getting set up. Did you not see Matt Lindland fight Fedor over there in the rope grab? It's just the way it works. It's fixed. It's Russia. Yes, you're fighting.
Yeah.
And then Fedor, the scumbag. So he's with this company. I think they're called like EFN. Whatever that organization was, they're out there doing their level best. And Fedor, one day before the fight, comes out and says, I've never been so close to signing with the UFC. And I'm looking at that and going, look, dirtbag. You're collecting a paycheck for somebody called EFN. Put EFN over. If you want to talk about the UFC and what's next tomorrow when the fight's done and the contract's up, go ahead. But when you work for somebody, work for that guy. And I just thought that was just a dirty move. Why are you talking about a different promotion when you're working for that promotion?